Good day, everyone. I'm Brennan Lafferty, publisher of Plastics News. Welcome to Ask the Expert, our new live stream series at Plastics News. With Ask the Expert, this is your chance to engage with professionals, to address the current business environment, to discuss best practices, and most importantly, ask some questions. This week's topic, marketing. And we have 3 live streams scheduled this week, dealing with first, online selling, second, brand elements, and last, public relations. Today's topic, moving your sales team from in-person selling to online selling. Our experts today are from the Trefoil Group. Representing Trefoil is founder and CEO Mary Scheibel and senior account manager Allison Kucek. Now, Mary and Allison will answer your questions after their presentation. To submit a question, simply email pnevents@crane.com, or if you're watching this live stream through LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, or YouTube, send your questions through those social media platforms. With that, I'll turn things over to Mary Scheibel and Allison Kucek of the Trefoil Group. Take it away, ladies.
Thank you, Brennan, and good morning. We want to thank everybody who's on this call and appreciate your investing your time with us this morning. I'm sure this is just one of the many online meetings you have today. And like all of us, you've experienced firsthand the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so our goal this morning is to make sure that yours are among the good ones and that we can help you to build new enthusiasm for the online opportunity. If you could go to our title slide, please. When we first were locked down in March and we all started to have to meet online, we asked ourselves, is this a short-term disruption caused by the virus, or is this a trend that's here to stay? Well, the answer became much clearer to me a few days ago in a meeting with the CEO of Rockwell Automation, where he reported to the board that we both sit on, that when they return to normal, it's not going to look anything like it did in the past, and that they're going to continue to make the online meetings a really important part of their move forward strategy. And they are not going to have their field sales organizations travel nearly as much as they used to. And that's really consistent to what it is we're hearing from many of the other people that we're in conversations with. But here's the catch. Online meetings are here to stay, but it's really important that you know how to do them well. Next slide. The first question that I think is really important for people to ask is why? And I've been around marketing with manufacturers for about 25 years, and I know how tactical it can get. And we focus so much on what it is that we're going to do that we forget why we're hosting this meeting to begin with. So I want to point to a couple of things that you need to consider. We think that there's lots of opportunities. If you could bring up the points, please. We think there's lots of opportunities for you to get together with your people and make sure that you're sharing new directions. Many people have really pivoted. They've created new offers. They want to tell people about it. They recognize the need to establish their brands differently, to rebuild their reputations. We need to educate audiences on the technologies that you want them to engage with. And we need to look at, and this can be a little bit trickier online, how do we build reputation and how do we build trust? But we know that all of these things happen before you can do what many of us think is the only reason for a meeting. Next points. And that is we want to sell. And we want to sell our equipment, our products, and services. But we know that for many of you, whether you're selling, more expensive equipment or materials, or whether you want to engage in a new contract manufacturing partnership, that selling isn't just one and done. So the most important questions that we should be asking, though, are on the next slide. It begins with focusing on the customer. And we really need to be really clear. We're selfish as people. We know what it is that we want, and boy, do we want it, and we want it now. But these are the two most important questions that you can ask. What do your customers really want? And what is it that's going to keep them coming back for more? Because the thing that you have to remember is that it's very easy to disengage with you online. It's easy to stop paying attention. It's easy to disengage. And it's even easy to leave an online meeting. So if you can look at the next points here, we asked our clients, what is it that they think their customers want to know? And we're in these conversations all the time. So for many manufacturers, they believe this is the list of the most important things that they need to share with their customers. They want to see your plant. Most manufacturers have invested all of their resources, a lot of financial resources, in making their shop floors very innovative. We want to have people see our technologies. And in online forums, you can actually have people experience your technologies. You can look very closely inside a piece of processing equipment, or you can go inside a clean room using technologies that you might not otherwise be able to visit. And here's an interesting one. Behind door number 2 is an on-site application. So for equipment manufacturers or auxiliary equipment manufacturers, you can actually showcase an application that's online. Lots of people think it's important for their customers to meet their people. They need to know the extensive experience and expertise that they have for the products that they're making. And when we look at these next 2 points, understanding your industry knowledge and know you're proven and not risky, those go really hand in hand. What I can tell you right now is that people believe they've got enough risks in their lives, and nobody wants to do anything that's risky. So if you can showcase your industry expertise, if you can showcase the technologies, if you can share statistical evidence of your success, all of that is very helpful. And to look at your resources that you have, you need to let people see the resources you have, but you don't necessarily need to share those in meetings. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And the last thing you want to build is trust in your leadership team. I personally don't believe you can transact any faster than you can build trust. So bottom line on this, what do your customers want to know? They want to know the 3 things that are most important in any sales, whether it is truly face-to-face or whether it's face-to-face online. They want to know that you understand their problem. They want to know that you've solved problems like theirs before, and they want to know that you're really passionate and you really care and really want to engage with them. Next slide. So how do you make it engaging? There are a lot of ways, and we put this slide together real quickly to give you a list of things that we think that you could add to your sales toolkit that'll help make your meetings more engaging. If you can look at the list, we think, first of all, you should utilize a green screen. Make sure you're using the technologies that position your presenters in the best possible light. Integrate photos into everything you do. If you scheduled a meeting, replace that "the meeting will begin shortly" slide with a montage of photos that can rotate through and show your facility, show your people, share your vision statement. And look at videos. We opened this meeting with a 30-second spot that we put together. It's very easy to leverage video technologies now so that you can use those kind of videos and you can share messages in a way that takes the spotlight off of your presenters. Really important to vary your content, your slide formats, to learn how to take a break. Literally, you can take 5, and when you take 5, maybe that's the time where you can have photos rotate through. You can use countdowns when you come back together that'll build the energy in the room back up. And always ask questions. For larger meetings, there are certain technologies that you can utilize that will not only ask the questions, but will aggregate the answers. And when you're in more intimate conversations, be sure to engage one-on-one and bring everybody into the questions that you're asking. Don't leave a meeting and then say, gee, I wish John Doe, who was sitting in the corner, would have participated more. Help him to participate more. And above all, be genuine. And this gets really tough online, but we do really have to look people in the eye. We really do have to speak with integrity. We have to address those issues that may be tougher and more challenging. But it's very, very important in building relationships that you create relationships that matter online. If you could go to the next slide, please. I'm going to turn this over to Allison, and she's going to take a little bit of a closer look at some of the technologies.
Sure, and thanks, Mary. For those of you who are joining us just a little bit late, my name is Allison Kucek, and I'm a Senior Account Manager with Trefoil Group. And I just want to spend a few minutes with you guys to talk about how you can be most prepared for your online meetings, starting with your technology. So by now, we all know that technology tends to fail us when we need it the most. I think Murphy's Law comes into play here. So that's why it's critical to take a step back before selecting a technology platform to identify what you want out of your online meeting so that you can match the right software or platform to it. You are the star of a well-produced television show with these events. And the last thing that you want is to go viral for a YouTube-worthy technology fail rather than how cool your presentation was. So just briefly, as we take a look at the different technology platforms that are available, there's many to choose from, whether you have an intimate sales meeting or presentation, all the way up to a larger corporate event. So if you're looking at hosting a corporate event that's going to integrate collaboration spaces with breakout sessions, with a technology showcase that shows your products or services, or an on-site application going deep inside a customer plant, a platform like 6Connects might be right for you. And by now, we already know, we're all very familiar with the platform Zoom for more of our intimate one-on-one conversations. However, there's a lot of features like polling, breakout rooms, or branded backgrounds that can allow you to get a lot more out of the presentation. So as we go ahead to the next slide, once we've identified the right technology platform, what else can we do to make sure that we're prepared? Well, the next point is really to work with someone who knows what they're doing. You're an expert at what you do. Find someone who's an expert at online events. So for example, Mary and I like to think of ourselves as communications experts, but we're not necessarily technology experts. So we've partnered with a firm called Stam Media, who's helping us out, make sure that we have the right green screen, the right lighting, and to make sure that we have a backup plan if the computer goes down or if our Wi-Fi goes out. Which leads me to our next point, have a backup plan. When you're planning for these events, you have to ask yourself what could possibly go wrong. What happens if minutes before your presentation, your internet goes down or your computer decides that now is the perfect time to make those 82 updates that you've been pushing off? Next is to create a structure. We're all busy, but your online event is not the time for you to go with the flow. Whether it's an online sales presentation or a multi-day event, make an agenda, create a format that's going to keep people engaged and keep the momentum moving throughout the entire event. And the last one, but certainly not the least, is practice. Have you made sure that your video plays with sound, that your PowerPoint slides work like they're supposed to, that you're not broadcasting in front of a messy bedroom behind you? It's really not natural for a lot of us to speak to a camera or a computer, really. So making sure that you take time ahead of your online event to practice and make sure that you feel comfortable with what you're doing, that's only going to make your event that much better. So hopefully these brief tips help you be a little bit more prepared for your online sales conversations. Now I want to turn it back to Mary to talk about how can people ensure that the momentum from their event continues beyond the day of.
So the first thing you're seeing here is this piece of advice: don't let your online meeting stand alone. Brennan and I were talking for a few minutes before this meeting got started, and I was sharing with him that I've been an evangelist for marketing for manufacturers for 25 years. And this is the time, though, now more than ever, that marketing needs to be integrated with sales. Salespeople and marketing people really need to come together to really produce the best events online that you possibly can. And more than ever, you need to surround those events with other kinds of content. So if you could take a look at this list, you need to create customized landing pages. If you're in a conversation with a customer and it looks like it could be a big opportunity, create a landing page and let that customer know that following this meeting, I'm going to send you a link to this landing page. And on that landing page, you're going to see all the relevant information that I have packaged specifically for you. If it's an industry that you're focusing on, create an industry-specific landing page. But it's really important to tailor your content to the audience that you're trying to reach. Conduct educational webinars and turn them into webcasts so that you can share those on social media outlets and that people can, again, through these customized landing pages, if not through your website, so that they can get to those materials very, very easily on their own. Produce your own video intelligence series. We talk to a lot of companies and they're telling us that they're producing all sorts of resources. They're producing how-to videos and they have, a series of videos, but they've never really packaged them and bundled them. So we work with a company that used to be Honeywell Cable and now they're called Genesis. But for them, we've produced the Cable Intelligence series. And that really basically says right away that we're smart about this topic. And by participating and experiencing these topics with us, you're going to get smart too. Also, we think it's really important right now to use social media channels effectively. We're seeing increased interactions on channels like LinkedIn. And for you to be able to get better at that and to look at what is the kind of content that's going to be really most engaging to people on social channels is really important. You can produce thought leadership pieces and things that share your expertise and push them out through social media channels. But the last thing here I want to say is this is really an important time to be the leader that people want to follow. And today, with so much going on in our communities, there's a lot of opportunity for you to be the leader people want to follow in your business. Be the leader people want to follow in your industry. Be the leader that customer organizations want to follow. And be the leader that people want to follow in your communities. And I think if we all work together, we can really affect some very positive change. So the last thing I want to leave you with is a little bit of a saying from one of my favorite pro sports figures. In all things, we know there are going to be winners and there are going to be losers. We've learned that the person that puts the most points on the board wins the game. But over the past few months, many of us had the opportunity to see and experience Michael Jordan in the Last Dance Netflix series. So I want to leave you with a piece of advice. Be bold, take the shot, do what Michael Jordan says. Some people want to make it happen. Some people wish it would happen, and other people do make it happen. So be like Mike. Go ahead, take the shot. And with that, we're going to open it up to questions.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. A great presentation. As you said at the top, couldn't be more relevant, the topic, than this. So we're going to answer some questions, as Mary said. To submit a question, email us at pnevents@crane.com, or if you're watching the live stream on Facebook Live or LinkedIn Live or YouTube, send your questions through those platforms, and we'll get them over to Allison and Mary. All right, guys. So first question that's come in, what advice would you give to get me started? Where should I begin?
Well, I think that people should begin with first understanding the why. Why is it that you want to host this event? What is it that you want to accomplish? And what is it that your customers are going to want to learn about? The other thing that I would tell people is while you can't do it all, make sure that whatever it is that you do really well. So start small and then build out. What is the thing that's going to help you the most? Do you need to educate people on your technologies and start with a webinar? Do you need to put together a real rockin' sales presentation? But wherever it is that's going to produce the most value for you, make sure that you focus on doing whatever it is that you can do well.
All right, we got questions streaming in from LinkedIn. Do you like LinkedIn for prospecting or do you like cold calling?
I think it depends on your audience and how they respond best. We've seen LinkedIn really growing as a platform and really giving you the opportunity to personalize your outreach. You can do sponsored in-mail or in-mail campaigns that allow you to get directly in front of people if you're not connected to them, if you have a sales navigator account. So you can on LinkedIn for prospecting, you can bring a lot more, I think, personalization to it. I think cold calls, sometimes people won't pick up the phone, especially if they're not in their offices these days. So I think it's a mix, but I think LinkedIn is really growing in value in terms of how you can reach out to your prospects.
And I think you can do both. You have to kind of support both in that kind of a format. So if you looked at LinkedIn for cold calling, you can customize databases. You can tailor your databases to make sure that you're reaching a very specific target audience. But when you do that, the biggest thing is what content are you going to put in front of them? Are you putting something in front of them that's relevant and meaningful? How are you going to be able to use that in order to get them to engage with you? We also think people should invite people to be contacts with them and see what they can get through organic LinkedIn. And we encourage people to use their corporate profile pages in a more robust way, but then to make sure people on their teams are sharing that content and engaging with that content. So LinkedIn is a really strong platform for, I think, building your brand and building your reputation, as well as prospecting and cold calling. But the thing I would tell you is be relevant and don't make everything you post be about your products and services and your equipment. Share your insights, your perspectives, and your knowledge with people.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, LinkedIn's super popular. It's only going to grow. Here is a really interesting question. Our presenters are primarily engineers and technical salespeople. How can I help them be more engaging with online presentations?
Sure. And, like I said, it's not natural for a lot of us to do these presentations ourselves or at a small camera on our computers. So I think one thing we all need to keep in mind is that we can't necessarily rely in these presentations on people being on all the time. So we like to surround people with creativity, use videos, use infographics, different animation that allows people to not just be on camera the entire time, that people have a certain level of comfort with the presentation that they're giving, even if it's a more technical conversation. I think, too, just making sure that you're prepared, giving people the opportunity to run through a presentation several times can help get people more comfortable in front of the camera, so that way it comes off a lot more natural on the day of.
The other thing I would suggest is using questions. If you look at a platform like Zoom, you can ask a multiple choice question and you can ask people to answer, you choose your answer, A, B, C, D, or E. Mm-hmm. And in 5 minutes from now, we're going to share with you how your answer compares to everybody else who's in this meeting. I think that gives somebody who's a little bit more, who isn't as go with the flow or isn't as charismatic, the opportunity to put something in front of people that's inherently engaging. Mm-hmm. And when you share those answers, everybody wants to stay tuned because they want to see, I wonder if everybody chose B, or am I alone, or what percentage of people think like I do. So I think that utilizing some of the features in some of these platforms can really help support people who communications doesn't just come as naturally to.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point, Mary. And as Allison said, no substitute for practice. We all need it. So here's a question. I think, Allison, you were talking about having a backup plan. The question coming in from LinkedIn. We've all heard about the security issues when we first went home with Zoom. What about security when choosing the right platform? Any thoughts on that?
Sure. Well, obviously, security is at the top of the list. And like you said, Brennan, we know that it's been really in the news with Zoom and the issues with Zoom bombing and all of that different, the drop-ins that were disrupting meetings. So security is definitely important. And I think it's a matter of doing your research and identifying what platform you feel comfortable with and what security features they offer, or if you need to create your own event. If you need to create your own landing page and not use one of these broadcast platforms, how can you do that to give yourself a little bit more comfort? I think it's just a matter, again, of making sure that you're comfortable with the steps that the company's taken, because a lot of companies and platforms have really taken a deep look at their security protocols. So especially if you're in conversations or in presentations that are sharing proprietary information, you certainly want that to be near the top of your list.
Yeah, good point. Thank you so much for all these questions that are coming in. If we don't get to your question, fear not. We will make sure that Mary and Allison see these questions and they can answer you directly. So here's a question that's come in through email. Does Trefoil utilize a planning software to plan their marketing activities? If so, can the calendar be viewed by both the sales and the marketing team so that everyone can see what's about to be forthcoming?
Right now, we're not using a planning software. We've used several of them. We've tried several of them, and they haven't been as successful as we want them to. We do have and do utilize platforms there where we're sharing documents and we're sharing some technologies, but we haven't actually put it into the same kind of planning platform that you would look at if you were putting together or launching a really big piece of software. I don't know, what would you say to that, Allison?
Yeah, and I think too, one of the important parts of this question is making sure that sales and marketing are aligned in terms of what's upcoming. So we like to use content calendars where they're not in a platform, but they're in a document that's accessible by the entire team, where we're mapping out this month we might have a product launch, this month is this event. So we use Google Docs, we use Dropbox, we use just shared documents on a server and FTP, so that there's alignment, people know what's happening, and making sure that we're helping our clients communicate as much as possible with their team so that everyone's aligned and we're creating the right tools that are going to help sales succeed.
And if we're launching like a bigger website project, we have all sorts of different kinds of documentation, quality assurance, testing documentation that makes us, that ensures that we have checklists to make sure we're getting all of the activities and all of the tasks completed properly before a website launches or an event launches. We just haven't bundled it into some of the larger planning software programs.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, here's a question about length of meetings. So we've all heard the phrase Zoom fatigue. We're learning all types of new vocabularies. Can the Trefoil Group tell us what they found to be the ideal video length for a meeting? I think it's a very interesting question. Are there certain chapters to be certain that you cover?
I think it really depends on the purpose. We find really the shorter the video, the better. You don't want to have necessarily a 10 or 20 minute video just playing on screen. The issue with that is that it can get a little slow and perhaps give people more opportunities to disengage. The commercial that you saw at the beginning of our presentation was 30 seconds. So we typically recommend the shorter, I guess I would say the better, as long as you're able to communicate everything that you need to.
We're in conversations, and we've been doing a lot of work and looking at different tour the plant videos. How long does it take to tour the plant? But you're also looking at seeing some techniques that will enable to, use a drone to go from one building to the next, or speed up the video to make it a little bit more interesting so that people are hustling and bustling as they get through and not walking people down a long corridor. As we put together some of these plant tour videos, we have really kind of found that anything longer than 5 minutes seems like a long video to us. And I would encourage you, if you're going to make a video and you're going to think it needs to be really long, to take a look at and sit down and watch a 5-minute plant tour video and see if you don't really realize that you're starting to get that it can get a little bit weary. But I think the technique in there is, how are you using music? How are you using technologies in order to keep people engaging? The question of how long a meeting should be is really a different one. I think a meeting should be as long as it needs to be in order to get to the end goal, and not any longer than that. I am on a couple of boards, and I've actually participated in some 3-hour Microsoft Team and some 3-hour Zoom meetings that I thought were going to just be unbelievable. How are we going to do a half-day meeting? And we took breaks. They shared a little bit of video. They engaged all of us and asked us questions. And the presentations were really well done. That was the key. They weren't putting these slide presentations up there that were the kiss of death. They were really engaging and really creative. So I think that if you're going to have longer meetings, you have to get really creative and really look at, am I using infographics? What am I doing to keep people paying attention and engaged with the content and engaged in the conversation?
Yeah. Well said, Mary. Question from LinkedIn. There was some talk about using polling and surveys. Can Mary and Allison provide more detail on how to use polling?
You want to talk about that with Zoom?
Yeah, so the great thing about some of these online platforms is that the polling feature is built directly into it. So for Zoom, for example, as long as you have an admin account, you can create a poll that your attendees can respond to and answer. And Zoom certainly, and the other platforms allow. So it's pretty simple. You just have to look inside the platform. They're typically integrated there. And it's a great and easy way to collect data. You can see it all on your screen. It's accumulated, and then you can share it during your meeting with the results.
And I think it can really inform your marketing program moving forward. If you ask people to rank, to look at this list and tell us which are your top 3 challenges, well, then what are the top 3 challenges or obstacles that you have to overcome in order to make a sale. And so the data-driven aspects that we can get through online are really, really helpful in testing messaging and deciding really what are the most important things to your customers. You don't have to guess anymore.
Right. So a question about after the video sales meeting, what steps can I take to keep my customers and prospects engaged after the meeting?
So I think there are a lot of steps you can take to keep people engaged after the meeting. Again, it's what content do you have available to them and how easy is it for them to find it. Certainly we're going to follow some of the same practices that we might do after an on-site event, and maybe we'll even be more rigorous, because I know working with companies after trade shows, more than half of the people who might have visited a trade show booth are really not going to get any really rigorous content. This answer can be as simple as follow up with emails, or direct people to landing pages, invite people to participate in a webinar or in a webcast, everything to getting into more sophisticated sales automation platforms where you may be able to really start to map out specific customer journeys. That it's a short question with a lot of different answers.
Yeah, for sure. Probably key number 1 is make sure you follow up.
Make sure you follow up. And I keep telling people, always be relevant. Yeah. Always be relevant.
Yeah. So this may be our last question. If I want to host a larger corporate event online, what key components do I need to integrate into my plan?
Sure. So as you look at your event, I think if you compare it to a trade show, for example, we've all been frustrated when we walk into these massive convention centers and we have absolutely no idea where to go. So as you take a look at your corporate event, create a lobby, create a user experience where people know exactly where to go and exactly what they need to do. If they want to look at your technology, go this way. If they want to go to a live stream, go this way. If they want to see your facility, if they want to see the on-site applications or case studies, make it clear where they need to go so that they're not frustrated and opt out of your event pretty quickly. And there's things that you can do to break it up. When you think about your larger corporate events, you have a keynote speaker that can bring everyone together, but you also have breakout sessions and panels that give people the opportunity to learn what they want to. How do you bring in entertainment? Can you have a comedian or a magician come on screen, allow you to take 5 and allow you to break up long conversation? I think too, looking at smaller events, for example, if you're having a sales conversation, how can you bring in lunch or coffee to create those or recreate those in-person experiences that drive engagement and replace the ability to sit across the table from someone at dinner?
And I think another key is to make sure that people can access a presentation or access a conversation after it's occurred. Make sure that they can come back later. People are just so busy nowadays, and their days are disrupted by all sorts of different things. So they may not be able to stay for the event, but you can do some things that enable them to come back and experience that event on their own time.
All right, I'm going to sneak one last quick one in here. This question came in through email. What's the first step to start working with a marketing agency?
Call us, email us, text us, reach out to us on LinkedIn. We'd love to have the opportunity to work with people, but I think that like all domains of business, I will say, I think that there are better marketing firms than others. And I think it's really important for you to understand what it is that you want from a marketing firm and to make sure that you engage with someone who can think with you. We always tell people we're not order takers, and our clients really like it that way. Make sure that if you're going to engage with a marketing agency, that they have the strategic horsepower to really help make what it is that you're doing better and not just be someone who can complete the tasks that you want them to complete.
Well, wonderful. Any parting words of advice for our viewers out there, guys?
I guess I would just say embrace the online opportunity, fail forward, be like Michael Jordan, go ahead, take the shot. And whatever it is that you do, really do it well. And if you would like to engage in additional conversations with me or with Allison or other people on our team, we'd love to talk more. So thank you for the time that you've invested with us this morning.
Indeed. And thank you guys for sharing your insights today. If you want to reach out directly to Mary and Allison, you can email them at the addresses you're seeing on your screen right there. I know, and you heard it from Mary herself, they'd be happy to engage and share with you. My thanks to our experts, Mary Scheibel and Allison Kucek of Trefoil Group. My thanks to you for joining us today for Ask the Expert. Our marketing series continues tomorrow at noon. Our topic tomorrow is brand awareness. Our expert, Teresa Schell from Vive Marketing. Until then, have a great day. I'm Brennan Lafferty. Thanks for watching Ask the Expert with Plastics News. Stay tuned for a parting message from Trefoil Group.